Welcome to the Achieve Results Now podcast, the podcast that gives you immediate actions you can take to start seeing life-shifting results now. Hey everybody, welcome to the Achieve Results Now podcast. This is Mark Cardone.
And Theron Feidt.
So we have a great episode here today. So first I'm going to tell you two things right now. First, I'm going to tell you what we're talking about. I was feeling super overwhelmed last week, like work, everything, just grating on me. So if you're somebody who's ever felt overwhelmed, please don't skip this podcast. Listen to it. If you're someone who's never felt overwhelmed, you're lying. You have definitely felt overwhelmed. The second cool thing about this podcast for our listeners, because we're nearing our 500th episode, I thought it'd be cool to do this. You have no background on what we're going to talk about today.
Well, I have two words.
Two words
that really don't mean much.
That don't mean anything. So I have given Theron no background on what this is about because I just want to have a conversation. So what I did, so I was feeling overwhelmed, and what I always do, because you and I have talked about the power of this, and you can talk about this a little bit too.
Yeah.
But I was feeling very overwhelmed, which meant I had a lot on my mind. I had a lot going on. So what I did, it was funny. I was at the dojo Monday night, and before I got rolling, I got my notepad out and I started to make a list. Of all the things, right? Which I think is a really good thing to do. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, making a list. I agree.
Data dump, get it on paper. So the first thing I put on the list, and this is step one. So this is 3 steps to overcoming overwhelm from my notebook Monday night. So this is like a real life view.
Okay.
So the first thing I said, and something that was really almost making me feel bad, was I said I need to walk my dogs.
Okay.
So walk the dogs. And when I say walk the dogs, why did that make me feel bad? Because I was working and my dog's looking at me like, "Hey, dude, take me out."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I can't. I'm super busy." Right. Yeah. And I said, walk the dog is such a good metaphor because not everybody has a dog. But walking the dog could be just doing something for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole world out there of people who are looking at us saying, "Hey, help me out." And we get so busy, right? But step one was walk the dog. So I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I think my take on it when you're talking, if you actually have a dog, hopefully you like dogs if you have a dog, right? So there's going to be some joy when you actually take your dog out. The dog loves walks. So you're going to get some joy from that, from the dog. You're going to get some tail wagging and things, but also just especially being outside, and even if it's a little cold and brisk at the time, it's going to clear your head. You're going to get movement. And we talked about in one of our last podcasts we recorded, we reminded everybody about physiology. If you want to change your state of mind, instead of trying to think your way into what you want to be, is you need to move your way into it by moving your body, shoulders back, the way you look, and the walk is all part of that. Because when you start walking, obviously you're physically moving, but also now you're starting to breathe a little bit more. You're inhaling a little bit more. And now if you don't have a dog, walking the dog could just be a metaphor of, I'm going to get up and walk my room, or I'm going to get up and I'm going to do 10 push-ups, or whatever the case is. Again, this is changing your physical state, your physiology, in order to change your mental state. Am I on the right track?
No, almost. Yes and no. I love that you got into that, but I want to go back to walking the dog as it relates to doing something for somebody else. Right. So a selfless act, right?
Oh, I like that.
I know, I don't remember who said it, but I remember one time somebody said one of the quickest ways to get out of like your internalized fear and overwhelm is to go out and help other people, right? To go volunteer, to go do a thing, right? To go out and teach a karate class, right? I mean, how often have I been overwhelmed at work? And I literally said to Joyce yesterday, one of my favorite things about going to the dojo is I get to go teach kids karate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with clearing my to-do list, but it's a thing I'm doing that's not for me. It's a thing I'm doing for somebody else. So yes, you were right on track. I want you to talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So I was on the what it really does for you.
100%.
You were talking about the other side. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree with finding, that's why volunteer work, is important. What volunteer work is as much for you, the volunteer, as it is the people that you're helping. It's really a win-win.
Yeah.
I think it's the ultimate win-win. And it could be helping a friend. It doesn't have to be working in the soup kitchen, although that's good too. And then probably one of the reasons why I require it for our black belts is they have to do 3 community service hours that's non-related to any martial arts at all. So it can't be that they're teaching for me,
Right.
or they're helping out classes for free. None of that. It can't be anything dealing with martial arts. And it's only 3 hours, so it's pretty simple. But these are some kids, some young
Yeah.
kids that have to figure out how to volunteer, and then there's some adults that maybe haven't volunteered before and they're forced to.
Hmm.
But I thought that was important. Why I implemented that years ago is because we should be in service of others. We should be giving to others, not only because it's the right thing to do, but exactly the reason you had this as a step, it helps you.
And
It gets you out of your head.
and it's funny because this was the first thing I thought of because and I really think when people think about being overwhelmed, one of the first things to go is anything for anybody else,
Yeah. Yep.
right? And we've talked about this on the podcast before. When you're in a plane and there's an emergency,
All
right?
right.
We got to put our own mask on first.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think there's so much to be said for getting out of your situation and walking your dog, spending time
Yeah.
with your kids,
Hmm.
having a nice conversation with your wife without looking at your phone. All
Right.
of those things that are for other people and also for
Mm.
yourself, but that
Yeah.
are outwardly focused. So walk number one is walk your dog. Okay. And
Okay.
you can, and people listening, take that however you want. If you have a dog, go walk your dog. If you
Yeah.
don't, go out and volunteer, do the things. So now what you talked about, right? Because then I'm sitting there going, well, what else should I do to get out of this overwhelmed state that I'm in? Number two was walk myself.
Oh, okay. All right. Now I
And
see where you're going with it.
now here we are, right? Talking about our physiology, fresh air, sunlight, and movement,
Yep.
and just the impact that that can have on us.
All right. Well, I guess I'll talk about a little bit what I mentioned before, and I'll
Yes.
try to expand on it. So,
Yeah.
so yeah. So movement is very important. Teaching the martial arts, obviously, it's all about movement. If you're performing a form, a kata, how you present yourself, how confident you look. If you're on spotlight, you're doing a demonstration in tournaments, things like that. The ones that win. Yes, technique matters and all that, but presentation is a huge, huge part of that, and that's how you hold your body. But the other side too is how do you change your mental state?
Yeah.
And mental state is done breathing, the movement is going to make a difference. Why do we require the students to say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am? Initially, people think, well, it's just respect. You want discipline, all that. Yes, but that's like way down the list of the reason why. We want participation in class. We want energy in class. We want that feedback back and forth that we know that they heard us in listening. And if a student is participating in class, they're going to learn better. They're going to learn quicker. Everything's going to be reinforced more. And that's all part of changing that state by the movement that they're doing. They're going to learn better if they're in a learning state as well. If they're in a good relaxed stance, if they're down to a seiza. Am I on the right track?
You so on the right track. I mean, because
Okay, good.
how often do we hear from especially adults? I mean, I'm feeling super overwhelmed. I'm real busy. I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to come to class. Right? It's just like walking the dog. It's one of the first things to go when we feel overwhelmed. But we know in our head, like I'm willing to bet if you ask an adult when they're not in that state of overwhelm, is it like will walking, will exercise, will those things help you feel better?
Yeah,
Will they help you relieve stress? Will they do the things? I think they know that, but for
yeah,
some reason, it's one of the things we take right off our to-do list and go, no, I'll
right.
I'll get to it when I'm done with the things that are overwhelming me.
Yeah, yep, I agree. So how am I doing so far? Pretty good.
You're killing it. Yeah,
So
this is not this is
this
not a
proves
test.
that it's not AI stuff that we're doing here, right?
No.
I feel like
this
I'm
is
being
a
quizzed, seeing if I
this
know
is
my
a
stuff.
real conversation that like you and I would have. And I
Yeah,
was
it
like,
is.
I just want to do this on the podcast so people know, that we actually have like legitimate real thoughts. Like we think about stuff. And
Right.
like I said, now the hardest part of this list I was making, right? Because I made the tragic mistake, and people who like have the head that I have made this mistake before. I started with walk your dog. Then I said, I'm going to walk myself too.
Yeah.
And then I said, geez, what would be really cool? I said, what would be really cool is having a third thing, right? Like I'm gonna add a third walk something. And I spent time. When I say time, I didn't come up with it until the next day. Um, but I came up with a third walk. And
Okay.
this one I think we've all experienced, and I don't think it's a stretch at all. But I
Oh,
would
I
say
can't wait. Like the build up.
the buildup.
The-
So number three, walk it back.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I want to talk about this because we've all been in situations before where things are, some people call it quicksand, right? When things are at their craziest and we wail our arms faster,
Hmm.
what happens?
Yeah.
Right? We sink
We
even
sync.
faster. And
Yep.
I think it's so intuitive for us when we're in the states of overwhelm. When we're like, and you can talk about this from sparring. Like what
Yeah.
happens when you're stuck in a corner and you start getting rattled
Yeah.
on? It
Yeah.
doesn't get better for people who start flailing their arms.
No,
Right.
no. I love it when people do that because then it opens them up and I can hit them harder and
Right.
in better spots. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So here's what the initially I thought, and I don't know if this is where your mind is at. This is
Hmm.
interesting. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah.
Um, is like a mistake. Like
Yeah.
when you say walking back, like I'm thinking, okay, I made a mistake with somebody and I need to apologize. I need to, right? I mean, that's the first thing that I thought of when you
Yes.
said that. Um, because some people and certain people will double down
Yeah.
because I think it's because their ego is too fragile that they can't admit they're wrong or they did something wrong or they don't want to look bad in front of somebody else or other people instead of saying, hey, listen, I was wrong. I did this, I'm sorry I said that, or I'm sorry I did that. I didn't realize it meant so much to you, I
Hmm.
just did this with my daughter the other day. There's something I was like, oh, I can't do it, and then she got mad at me, and then I got mad at her, and we have a really good relationship, but also it's tough because she's a lot like me.
Yeah.
I trained her too much and too well, and then she's pulling stuff on me that I trained her to do, and I'm like, ah. And then, the next day I'm like, that was stupid. I mean, she was right. I should have done this. And then, so I sent her a text and I apologized and I walked it back. Now, should a parent ever apologize to their child? Absolutely, you should, because and it doesn't matter now. She's in her mid 20s, so she's an adult. But even if she was a teenager and under my house, if I did something wrong, I would still apologize. And I just think, it's not about ego. It's not about I'm the dad, I'm the right, I'm the one. That's dumb. That's dumb. And
Yeah.
so that's what I think when you say walk
And
back.
and yes, 100%. Like I think there's that. I think there's kind of three things that I'm thinking about as we're talking about it. Number one is that. Number two is when we apologize too hard. Like have
Oh,
you ever had somebody like screw up a relationship with you and then try too hard to fix it to the point
yeah.
where they made it worse?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
We've all been there. We've all probably
Sure.
done it because you feel
Yeah.
so bad that you put so much effort into fixing it, that you're actually still digging the hole and you're making it worse.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
So I think there's that. But then I also think there's just that concept of do less.
Yeah.
Just
Mm,
because the to-do list is gigantic and you feel
right.
like it's insurmountable, doesn't mean you have to do all of it.
Right.
And we've talked about this with time management before. There's a very good argument for just going through your whole to-do list and picking out two or three things that are important, and saying these are the things that I'm going to do
Right.
today.
Yeah. Yeah. So somebody gets sick, they have a heart attack, they have this and all that, and they're super busy. All of a sudden they're in the hospital and they can't do anything. Well, things still happen. Things still get done magically. I mean, not that that's when we want, not having a heart attack. I mean, that's not a great thing to have. But my point is, just like you said, maybe some things aren't that important. You put
Yeah.
them up as a priority. You can't have 10 things that are priority number one.
Right. Right.
One thing is priority number one. Now you can have 1A, 2A, and 3A. You can have maybe three top priorities, but any more than that, then you really aren't prioritizing. You're just saying everything's important, and it's not. And it's
Right.
not. And then we're losing track of what really is important, which is relationships, which is the people in your life. Those are the things that are more important.
Yeah.
Putting money or putting something else in front of a relationship, that's a recipe for unhappiness in your life because it's going to come back at you. And that's one thing that early on I said to myself is, yes, I want to have money, and yes, I like that, but I'm never going to put money over a relationship. Like I'm not going to say, I'm not going to buy Mark a coffee because he can afford it. Like it doesn't matter. Let's say I bought coffee 10 times in a row. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's fine. Um, I'm not going to ruin the relationship, and not that that happens, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to ruin the relationship over something like that. Money isn't shouldn't not be that important to you.
And this episode went so much better than I thought it could have
Oh,
because
good.
the way you just put a point on that with, I'm going to make time for myself and my family first.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why we start with walk the dog and walk ourselves, and like
Yeah. Yeah.
literally you capped it right
Oh,
there
thanks.
in the, not saying you should do less all the time. Like my to-do
No.
list today probably has 170 things on it. It's probably got 15 people that I need to call. It's probably got 8 new leads from yesterday. It's
Yeah.
probably got a deal I have to negotiate, but I really can't do it all. So
Yeah.
and I think if you want to avoid having that heart attack and missing that day and by force, right?
Right.
You should, when you feel overwhelmed, you should build this into your schedule, and you should really walk it back a little bit and say, okay, what, like, I'm feeling not right. Trust
Yeah.
me, when you're overwhelmed and you've dealt with
Yeah.
this, I've dealt with this,
Yeah.
you're not doing your best work, right?
No. Mm.
The clients you're being short with, the
Yep.
family you're yelling at and going to have to apologize to,
Yep.
if you just dial it back for a day or two and let
Hmm.
the things kind of flush,
Right.
I think that's one of the strong. So the hardest one to come up with, the walk it back, I think was
Yeah.
one of the most important ones that I thought of.
Okay. I like it. So just so everybody knows, you told me, I said, are you going to prepare me at all for what we're going to talk about? How do you want me to respond? He said, yeah, I'll give you two words. Three walks. I'm
Three
like,
walk.
three? He goes, yeah, the number three and the word walks.
I even did the finger motion of the walking.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. And that's all the information I had.
Yeah.
So
And I
it
and
was
I
pretty
think
cool.
I think like your insight on this was huge, especially like I love how we landed, because obviously the first ones are kind of easy, but that last one is so important because
Yeah.
it's so counterintuitive. We all think we're going to dominate the list, right? We think we're going to win,
Yeah.
and you can't. The list will all for achievers, the list will
Right.
always get bigger,
Yeah, for sure.
especially when you're running on it. So
Right.
walk it back. So let's go through review. I want to review our
Okay.
3 walks that people need to take. If you're listening to this, do these today. Okay.
Yeah.
Or anytime you're feeling overwhelmed. But number one, walk your dog. Okay.
Yep.
Take the dog for a walk. Spend time talking to your kids and your wife without a cell phone in your hand.
Hmm.
Have coffee with a friend. Go volunteer. Do
Right.
something selfless for other people.
The second one, I wrote it down because I didn't have these initially, so I took notes as we're going. Is walk yourself, and that's where the movement comes in. So the physiology behind actually walking or actually going to a workout, so it doesn't have to be a walk. I don't think, right? I don't
No.
think that was your intention. The intention is to move, get up, and you could even just get up off your chair when you're, doing some work and drop down on the floor and do 10 push-ups. I mean that could be part of it as well, but that's doing something for yourself to change your physical state.
Yep. And the last one, the one I had the hardest time coming up with, walk it back. Just
Yeah.
take a breath, do less,
Yep.
right? Apologize if you made a mistake, don't, focus on the couple of priorities on your list that have to get done, and then just take a little bit of a break. Get back to
Hmm.
the to-do list in a couple of days.
Yep.
Nothing's gonna fall apart in a day or two. So
Yeah.
walk it back, do a little bit less,
Yep.
take care of yourself. That wraps up this weird episode of the Achieve Results Now podcast, where I just sprung a topic up and I liked it, and it worked out. If you
Yeah.
know
Give us
someone who
feedback
needs,
on this for sure. Give
yeah,
us
give us
feedback.
feedback on this because I really like this format, and I hope that you come up with one that you surprise me with, so I can come in
Oh,
totally cold.
oh, I will do it. I will
I
do
hope
it.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but share this with somebody you know who feels overwhelmed, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, you.
Thanks for listening. Hop over to our website at www.achieveresultsnow.com to get your free copy of our book, Ignite Results, 4 specific daily actions to help you achieve results now. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Achieve Results Now. Thanks for listening, commenting, and subscribing. Now get out there and achieve results now.